talk show. Hello. It's the Chatty Patty talk show.
We will talk about the things that mean so much to you, like going to a restaurant or hanging at the zoo, clothes and sports and funny news, crafts and travel too. Nothing ever scripted, so expect the unexpected.
Hello. It's the Chatty Patty talk show.
Oh, I love it.
It's the Chatty Patty talk show. It's the Chatty Patty talk show.
Hi, welcome to our show. It's Monday, July 30th. I'm Chatty Patty. I'm here with
Paula Walla.
and our special guest today is Smitty.
Smitty. They kind of go
Smitty.
Chatty Patty, Paula Walla, Smitty, talk show.
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
Wow. It's natural.
It's a mouthful, right?
Yes.
And
That's what she said.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
It's a daytime program.
Yes.
Well, how are you? Welcome to our show.
Thank you so very much for having me. I mean, so you've been part of this every year. No, you couldn't last year.
I was
You couldn't, yeah.
maybe out of the country.
So, I wanted, so the first year that I did the
part of
Detroit
what?
All-Star, part of the Detroit All-Star Garage Rock Punk Review.
Yeah.
So the first year
Number
we did
3.
This is the third one, but the first one, I really, there was bands that, we were playing on the scene together, and there's 2 bands for sure, many bands, but 3 bands actually for sure that I wanted, Sinicide, Algebra Mothers, and the Vertical Pillows. Now, the Vertical Pillows, the drummer for the Vertical Pillows, she's still with us, but she doesn't live around here.
She lives in Indianapolis.
Right.
In fact, she would be at the show on Saturday, but
Right.
she has a wedding that she cannot get. I think she's standing up in a wedding.
Gotcha.
And
So
she'd be
I hate
fired.
to say this. The moment I heard, and her name was what again?
Monique, TNT.
right.
TNT.
Wasn't an easy shot in Detroit. I really lobbied to play drums with you guys so I could play with the Vertical Pillows and play with the Algebra Mothers, and it really was just a wonderful and life-affirming event. I mean, I really dug doing that with you
You
guys.
are an amazing
So,
drummer. It
of
was very
course,
fun to play with
we're
you.
all talking. We're talking about the Detroit All-Star Garage Rock and Punk Review, the third
one. 3.
on Saturday, August 4th at Tangent Gallery. What kind of experience do you have at Tangent Gallery?
Well, so being long-winded, we did the first one at PJ's and we packed it out, and it was
It was way crowded.
Oh, crazy crowded. And the fire limit there, I want to say, he did tell me it's about 170 something.
Oh, degrees?
We had degrees. Yeah,
Yeah,
degrees,
it was.
definitely.
It was.
I don't want to get anybody in trouble. We had way more than 170 something.
Not this year though,
People
because
were coming
you're
and
going to
going.
follow the
That's
rules.
right.
Somewhere in the patio outside.
Yes, then they have the patio. So I knew I needed a bigger venue, and Sue Summers, who I work with on this, she's like, well, I'm doing shows at the Tangent Gallery, Hastings Street Ballroom. You should check that place out. And I had a feeling from the success of the first one that it was going to do pretty okay. It's a much larger venue. I want to say that the big room where we're having the actual event, it holds almost 1,000 people. Now, did we do 1,000 last year? No. But we were like dancing between 600 and 700 people.
That's
it was,
awesome.
It was
Wow.
a
That's
pretty
great.
full room.
That's a
So
fun
we
time.
went from over 200 the first year to almost 700 the second year. I'm knocking on wood as I say this.
This is laminate.
laminate. We're probably going to be right at that 1,000 capacity this year.
So the doors are at 8 o'clock.
Yes, and you want to get there early for many reasons. There is parking, there's paid parking, there's parking around the theater, so you definitely want to get there early. Because we have so many incredible bands playing, we have to start the show very
time,
quickly
yeah.
after we open the doors at 8. 8:15, the first band on is Sinicide. So this is one of these shows where if you come in at fashionably late, you're going to miss like 3-4 amazing bands. You really want to be there from the very, very
You're
beginning.
going to miss the Motor Dolls. We're
There you
8:45,
go.
and you know what?
Exactly.
We don't get
8:45.
together very often. And we had a practice on Sunday, and we played each song one time, and it was like, well, I
We're
guess we
done.
don't need to do that again. I mean, then we went boating on Miss Bond
Oh, I
in
love
Whitmore
it.
Lake and drink beer. It was awesome.
So the good news, if I'm using last year as a reference, actually the room filled up really fast. I want to say that Sinicide, who was the first year and the second year, they were really playing to a very healthy crowd. The second band on, I can't remember who it was, the room was easily more than half full, and by the time the third band came on, it was just like, I have never seen a room fill that quickly.
Well, fill me in on some of these bands and their history.
Well, history. I got to do
Or
history
a little
too.
bit about the bands. Come on, Paula, tell me about Motor Dolls. Tell us.
There you go.
Well, the Hysteric Narcotics, I've played with them forever. The
Yes.
Vertical Pillows and the Hysteric Narcotics. Wildest Soul is like my favorite song, or Monkey Bar. And they're just a psychedelic. And I remember Dave Feeney, who's the keyboard player, he used to put Christmas lights all over his body and plug them in and play keyboards. And the Murphys, just great guys, great band, great songs.
Yeah.
I am very excited to see them. Very psychedelic rock.
Yes, and the great thing about the Hysteric Narcotics is I can't remember if it was the first year, definitely last year, we had Mike Murphy playing with us, and so when I saw him last year, I said, Mike, how do we get... It's like, no, I think we'll be fine. I think people were like off in different directions last year, and so a couple 3 months ago when I talked to him, it's like, no, I think we can do it. So I said, okay, you're in charge. Talk to your guys. And I was already Facebook friends with David Feeney, and he was like, oh yeah, totally, we're doing this. So the Hysteric Narcotics, I'm so excited they're doing it. And so while we're putting this together, all right. I didn't want to repeat myself, and even though there's musicians who are repeated from year to year, the bands are essentially different. The one exception would be Hiawatha, who's he's turned into the guy who ends the whole thing, and he just kills it. But so I wanted to have Third Man Records involved. And as I was talking to people, I found out that they're working with the Algebra Mothers, and they're doing a release like 2 weeks later,
Oh,
a
that's
specialty
great.
a Third Man record. So I said, all right, well, this is the thing then. Even though I already had Algebra Mothers on the first year, we'll bring them back for this third one, and we'll do a tie-in, conjunction with Third Man Records, and we'll talk about the new release with the Algebra Mothers, and I get the Algebra Mothers to come back, and then Dave Rice has an excuse to come in because he was with the original. I love, because Dave and I we played in a bunch of bands together.
Gerald Collins is also in a group, GC and the...
Oh, I love that band.
I've not seen them.
They are so good.
Yeah, I've heard.
Wait, so I have a question, because you say, I have this idea, we're going to bring in Third Man Records. That's no easy feat. Like, you're just, we'll just get Third Man Records. Well, how did you go about that?
Well, it helped that one of the bands that had already done it, and I would be more than happy to have again, was a band they were talking to about doing a release with. So,
you were looking for a connection.
Plus they were fairly new, and I want to say I think Third Man Records had just more or less opened up last year. We were visiting it, or they've been there 3 years, 2 years, 3 years, maybe 4.
3-ish or 4. Yeah, because
but I didn't have an angle. But as soon as the Algebra Mothers became involved, it's like that's the angle. Oh, and then the other angle on it. Here we go. Let's get this out of the way because I've been forgetting this the whole time. Rob St. Mary is doing, he is part of the Cranbrook Museum of Art exhibit, Too Fast to Live, Too Young to Die, punk rock, 1976 to 1986 graphics, and he's involved with that. And so he was like, well, Smitty, is there something we can do where we can get the Cranbrook thing involved with Third Man Records, involved with the Detroit All-Star Garage Rock Punk Review 3?
Yeah, I'll make that happen.
And all I did is just introduce them, just talk to each other. And Third Man, they're smart people over there.
Okay.
And they're like, oh, punk rock graphics. Oh, Third Man Records. Oh, Garage Rock Punk Review.
let's make a weekend of it.
Yeah, let's have some fun.
Yeah.
So Rob is definitely, he's involved with that. David Buick over at Third Man Records is very involved with that. So they're going to be doing that during the day. It's a discussion. They're going to have a panel. They're going to show some video. That'll happen at 2 o'clock at Third Man this Saturday, August 4th. And then from there, eat, drink.
Go to the old Miami.
And then get your butt over to the Tangent Gallery Hastings Street Ballroom
By
early,
8.
by 8. And you're ready to go.
What time are doors? At 8? Or
Doors are 8. The music's 8:15. Now, having said that,
how are you going to...
we might actually go as late as 8:30, but think that the bands are going to start at 8:15. how we're gonna. So every band, whether you're doing 3, 4, 5 songs, everybody's pretty much falling in that 20-minute zone. Believe it or not, up front, it's going to be very crowded, and the changeover is going to be really quick. Some of the other bands down the pike, I'm not going to say who, I already know they're only going to do like 2, 3 songs.
Yeah.
So that's how we end up not having Hiawatha go on at 1:45. He'll probably end up
1:55.
Right. He'll probably go on at closer to like 1:30 or before that. But here's the great thing about the setup over at the Tangent. They have a specialty liquor license that's more of an event license, so they aren't actually held to the same strict curfews that bars are. They'll have to stop selling liquor at 2 o'clock. But if the show wants to go, well, that's how they do those raves. If the show wants to go till 3, it's not going to go to 3 or 4. But if the show wants
Paula,
to
you're
go,
tired already.
You're going on at 3.
so it doesn't end until Hiawatha's done. It's just like,
Right.
oh, hey, look at that. It's after 2. Keep going.
When High says
Yeah.
keep going, we're going to keep
So
going.
there's a rumor that Smitty will be performing.
There is a rumor.
Is that true?
So when I put this together, I was just, the only thing I saw myself doing is sitting in with other musicians and playing drums. And the last year I put out my own record, Smitty. The name of the record is Just a Modern Guy. And I'm like, well, I'm going to do the third one. I think Smitty and Just a Modern Guy needs to show up to this event. Now, it does turn
Why not?
out the drummer for my band, Danny Lee, even though he lives in Massachusetts, he's originally, I want to say he's from Saginaw. So he's a Michiganian, Michigander.
Michigander.
Yeah, so we actually do have
I don't know.
a
which one.
Michigan and a
They're
Detroit.
both legal. They're
Yeah.
both legal.
And so I'm the Detroit content. So I figure, plus the kind of music that I'm playing, I have, I grew up, I made my bones in Figures on a Beach, which is clearly not a garage rock punk band. But this band, I would say we definitely qualify for that.
So what took you out east? Why did you leave Detroit?
Yeah.
Okay.
Shame
How
on
could-
you.
how dare you?
There's actually a very legitimate reason why we did that. So we're in Detroit, and and we're doing well, and we started to get a little action and some interest in New York, and primarily with Sire Records. And we were looking for an excuse where we could do more showcases in New York to make that happen. Well, we had been out to New York at that point. Chris Panacki was our sound guy at that time. I love Chris.
I love Chris.
I hope
Just
we
saw
see
Chris.
him I hope I see him in the next couple of days. He is going to try and make it to the show.
Great.
But
I love Chris.
he works. He's got
He
an
works a
actual.
lot.
Yeah, he's got an actual job. But so we were going out to New York with Chris Panacki already, and it was like, okay, we need to be closer to New York to do stuff, and rehearsal spots in New York, even going back to the mid-late 80s, were almost non-existent. And if you could find one, they were crazy expensive. And just about all of them, you could not leave your equipment in the space. When you were done rehearsing, you had to pull it. And we had keyboards and drums and all this
Leave
kind
no
of stuff.
trace.
Pain in the butt. That's a lot. That's a lot.
And we all had jobs here in Detroit, so we'd have to go out there and find new jobs and someplace to live. So we just, we had this wacky idea, much like how living in Detroit, we would go and play shows in Chicago, 4.5, 5 hours away. Why don't we move to Boston? And while we're trying to do these showcases in New York, Boston has a music scene. 2 birds, 1 stone. We'll attack the Boston music scene a little bit, and we'll keep going down to New York. The funny thing is that right at that time, well, actually, I can honestly say Boston never had a music scene that embraced the sound of something like Figures on a Beach. They got a great music scene, but that whole synth, drum machine tech thing, there were some bands, but it was not a Boston thing.
They were like, huh?
Yeah, right. So we
is this
came in.
Detroit
Well,
sound?
it was great. So we came in and we had all this. We're talking to Sire, and we got all this action going on. So we literally show up, and we're going around to all the different clubs, and you can do Monday night, audition night, Tuesday night, audition night, and all this stuff. And we had already played like Pine Knob here in Detroit, and filled out St. Andrews, 1,000 people and stuff. It's like, oh man, we're gonna have to eat some crow. I mean, this is gonna be tough. So we've got our little cassette tape and we got our flyers and stuff. We're going to all these clubs. Well, one of the things that we had when we were here, and one person that was very helpful with getting it accomplished, Don he produced our Breathless record, and there was all kinds of dance mixes. Ivan from New York, he'd done some specialty dance mixes. We go to this club in Boston, and we walk up to the door. It's a decent-sized club. To ask if
and
we
you
could speak
forgot
to,
where you parked your car.
we forgot where we parked that car.
And
And Yad. And we walk up to the door guy. They're playing our song in the club.
Oh, super cool!
That's
And-
funny.
You made it. You made it big
we
time.
We just look at the door guy, and he sees our promo packs, and we're like, we're here to try and get a show. That's our song.
Yeah.
And he's like, all right, come on in.
Sure. Yeah. Right. That's your song. Right.
We got a headline show at one of the biggest clubs in Boston like that.
Woo.
The music bands in town, they hated us. They hated us.
That's
Who
awesome.
is this upstart band? They show up. They're playing a premier club right out of the gate. And then we got signed to Sire a couple months after that. They really hated us. It was just kind of like, who are these guys? And we didn't sound like,
They should be happy.
you know.
I know.
But that's
I know,
the
I know.
Boston thing. That's the Boston thing. They really, being in Boston for a while, that's where I really, it's like, yeah, I'm Midwest. I am my skin and how I treat people. You know, we definitely, we wear our hearts on our sleeve.
So do you guys think Detroit bands are welcoming to outsiders?
Well, by comparison, especially the story I just told you,
Yeah.
I would say yes.
Yeah.
Now,
I think
here's
so.
here's the one thing that I have noticed is that bands are they're more concerned about what they're doing, and so there is always a little bit of jealousy when another band starts to get a little action, because there's we're humans. It's sort of like, well, why not me? What am I doing wrong? Or this
Yeah.
is just as good. I can't believe wah. And so I was reminded of this in Boston just recently. Who was it? The Foo Fighters came to Boston. They played Fenway Park. And a local band, they're on a small independent label. They got the opening shot to open up for the Foo Fighters at Fenway Park.
That's a good gig.
It's a great gig.
Yeah.
And I know these people. All these people that I know that play in bands, they weren't. How could they? Why did they get that? They aren't that big a deal. It's just like
Somebody's
oh.
got to get it, though. We all can't get that gig. There's no.
But it just made me think, it's like, yeah, because we all work so hard to make this happen, and if somebody else is getting a little love, to make things, a good opening, slot. Remember when Iggy did that week's worth of shows at Bookies? And all the bands that were and then the bands that weren't on the opening slot, it's like, well, why not our band?
I was in the roommates at the time, but
Did you play?
No, but
Oh.
I did meet Iggy in the ladies' room, and he asked me if I had a pencil, and all I had was an eyeliner, and he was trying to get some chick's number, and he took it, and it broke, and I'm
Yeah.
like, dude,
Yeah.
I wanted that back.
Dude, now I'm not. Now my eyes are going to be wonky. I'm
I
going to
know.
wonk it.
So,
So tell us about the food in Boston. Come on. What are some other highlights about living there?
all right. So, here's what I will say.
Chowder.
Chowder. It is no exaggeration that the seafood in the Boston area is
It's
pretty
good.
gosh darn good.
Oh, good.
The clams, the lobsters. I mean, really, they're like. But here's the great thing. It's like, yeah, they get the lobsters, they freeze them, they send them around the country, and they get there pretty fast. So the quality, you will pay about half of what you pay here in Michigan specifically for the same lobster
Yeah.
that you get in Boston. So
Well, you
get
don't have to buy a plane ticket for that lobster
Yeah.
to get here. Because I went up to Maine a few years ago, and
Maine. Oh.
we were in Bar Harbor, Acadia National Park.
Yeah.
We rented a house
Yeah.
up there,
Yes.
and oh my God, and it was
Yeah.
cheap. It
Yeah.
really was.
Yeah. So
I
that's
wanna
the
know,
best thing.
I want to know, have you ever smuggled anything in the Fez?
That I have to now.
Like, would they, if you went to Comerica
or you have
Park
to
and
smuggle in the fez.
say you had a bunch, like a pint up there,
That's a very, I'm going to have to try that just to do it.
no,
But here's the great thing about
they'll make you
Michigan.
take it off, won't they?
Well, who knows? Actually, I
could
could say
tape
this
it
is.
in the top.
I'm part of this Masonic temple, and
Let's
it
get
is-
a
it's an
closer look
infamia
at
if
this
I
hat.
take my fez off.
it's illegal. Oh, she's showing.
Let's
yes.
get a closer
I love
look
it.
of that hat.
Do you ever braid that?
What does it mean?
Yeah, I
What's your
know.
ponytail
It does
significance?
actually, the best thing about it, and I just kind of work with it, is when I'm playing, oftentimes it'll get in my eyes and my face. And I figure, I'm not going to be, I'm just like, no, if I'm playing and with all the sweat that's going on,
Oh,
and
I
it goes
bet
like
it
this,
sticks really cool.
I just
Do you
leave
take it to the dry cleaners?
Don't ask that question.
I don't think it's ever been cleaned.
And I bought this one. Actually, no, this one was a gift from Jerry Vile that he got at a flea market. So this thing has
All kinds of germs. No,
all kinds of fungus and
How
mold.
many-
no, it's beautiful.
How many
It's
do you
beautiful.
have?
How many fezzes do I have? I have 2 glass cases full every shelf. I got to have at least close
All
to
different
20.
colors?
All different colors, white.
Wow,
You
that's
know,
fun.
yeah.
Yeah, that is fun. And they all
So-
say something different, right?
Well, yes. And now on this one, this is actual, this is all, what do you call it?
She's a beauty.
Bedazzled.
Well, these are all things. Like a potentate is actually a level in the Masonic Temple. What it actually
Oh, right,
is, I
right.
don't know. But it sounds nice.
Would you consider being a Mason? Like joining?
Well, short answer is yes. The long answer, man, I have no time. I mean, really, I would in a heartbeat. But it's
Don't
just-
people call you out on being, a
Some
poser?
people do. And actually, some people call me out as like, what does it mean? Because obviously, these are made in Turkey, and there are some people who are not Masons who
Yeah.
come from other countries that wear fezzes. It's like, no, stop. I wear this for fun.
Yeah.
I
You
grew
like the
up-
way it looks. It looks
I
cool.
like the way it's fun.
The
it's
way
cool.
it makes you feel, it
The way
probably
makes me
gives you
feel,
confidence.
All the jewels, the tassel, and
And I think the smuggling thing would work. I
Big
really
tassel,
do.
no hassle.
So I started wearing it, boy, I must say like 18 years ago. And I just started having fun with it. And once people saw that I was wearing a fez when I was performing, I started getting gifted fezzes. So this was, I had done some work for Jerry Vile, and as a thank you, he gave me this. But people show up to the show, and they just give me these crazy fezzes that they get at flea markets,
I'm going to start looking.
Yeah.
If I see one, I'll get it for you.
Well, so what? Then the other level is, so for friends on Facebook, and you're at a flea market and you see one, rather than just like buying it and giving it to me, it's like, what do you check the size. If it's 7 3/4, that's my head size.
7 3/4.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's that. How much is it? I'll tell you, man. A fez brand new before it's even shipped.
Yeah.
Well over $100.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah. Well over 100. So if the fez is in not too bad a shape, man, I'll pay 40, 50, 60 bucks.
Okay.
I mean, especially if it's all bejeweled and it's got all the nice tassels.
Well,
and the
so
whole
what about
deal.
its beautiful case? That's another story, because they probably don't all come with cases.
Well, so let me.
A fez case.
Fez case.
Can we?
Yeah, that's kind of unique. I like it.
Oh, yeah.
So this actually, and there's no wrong answers. The friend of mine who found this case, there was a white fez in it. For the Detroit show, I wanted to be a little bit more bad A, and so I figured white was just a little too friendly. I do wear the white, but so I took the white out. And
But only after Labor Day.
Exactly. Exactly. But
In the Hamptons.
this is one of the better cases, and so I brought it with more of the old school.
You could fit 45s in that case.
I'm sure you could.
Records, not
Right.
not weapons.
Well, they have to take out. Yeah, right. You have to take the middle piece out, and that's part of the.
Oh,
deal.
wow.
Yeah, you don't want to take it
That's
apart.
very
But yeah,
cool.
so I'm just having fun with the fez, and as on the album art, I had to make sure that I did
Oh,
my
yeah.
own illustration.
It's
with,
you, dude. It's
know.
you.
Well, tell us a little bit about the music that's on your CD.
Well, so here's the beauty part. So I go into this recording studio, and this is made my bones playing Figures on a Beach, and really so proud of that music and everything that we had done. But when I had moved on to start playing in other bands, the lead singer from Figures on a Beach, Anthony, and I, we played for a little bit in a band called Fire King. And we definitely, by definition, we just got more rock and roll. And we are of Detroit. And the funny thing is, there are great rock bands in Boston. Let me say that first. And they're great musicians, and they're great people. When coming from Detroit and then going into a music scene that has a rock scene there, very quickly you can feel the difference between the rock and roll music that you play in Detroit and other cities, Chicago, New York, and the whole deal. It's a nuanced thing.
That's cool. I like that.
And so it's like we would lean on the Detroit angle on this. So when I went to go do my CD, Just a Modern Guy, it's kind of like so I am a drummer. I have, I do just enough keyboards to get myself in trouble. I play harmonica and a few instruments. So I laid everything out, on my computer, recorded it, and then I invited all these friends of mine in the Boston music community to come in and play real guitar, play real bass, and the whole deal. So I'm in the recording studio and we're doing it, and my engineer, Alec Rodriguez, he's like
a baseball player.
A baseball player, he is. Actually, yeah, good call. Some people don't get that. That is the exact name. But he's a totally cool guy. Yeah.
No,
Alec
I'm
Rodriguez
lost here.
Yeah, no, Alec, especially in Boston, people pick up on that immediately. Alec Rodriguez was the shortstop for the Yankees.
Isn't he dating J-Lo?
He's J-Lo, and the thing on him, I don't know, I never met him. He's not a very nice guy apparently.
Oh.
But my
J-Lo
Alec,
likes him.
Well, yeah, sure. But Alec Rodriguez, the guy I worked with, he was a totally cool guy in his 30s, and most of the crew was in their 30s. And we're doing this, and they kept, this sounds kind of 80s. And I think of 80s, I do think more of like, what Figures was doing and that kind of thing. And it occurred to me, it's not the sound, it's the sensibility. I really started coming, to music and playing in bands in the late 70s and definitely through the 80s, when it really solidified. And it's like, oh, it's the sensibility. So the odd thing about this CD is, yes, it is rock and roll, but I love that I was able to capture that thing in me. It's because it isn't techie, it isn't synthetic or anything, but it does have kind of an old school approach to it. And the thing that really makes it 80s is you're listening to my voice right now. Well, this is my voice. And there's another, well, I'm just a modern guy. There's another guy who has a voice like that. On the record, I may sound a little bit like Iggy Pop.
I'm gonna listen to it on the way home. I'm excited.
Well, I want to give a shout out to some guests of the show that are going to be there on Saturday.
Yes.
Queen Bee and the Flipsters. They've both been on our show.
Yeah, Queen Bee was on our show, and Chris Flanagan, we listened to records with him.
Oh,
I told him to bring
We looked at album covers. We made fun of all these old school album covers because they were great.
Yeah, and Tino, I'm sure, will show up at the gig.
I'm hoping.
He was on our show as well.
I'm hoping. I mean, honestly, in the grand scheme of things, if there ends up being a fourth one of these, I would love to try and get Tino in on this.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
So if you're listening, Tino.
Yeah. But Linda, she's going to be, I'm not going to give away. So, boy, how much should I even say? So, but Queen Bee and Linda Lexi are going to be part of the Smitty presentation. So you definitely,
excellent.
You want to be at the show early. Did we mention that? You want to
be there early.
You want to be parking
So wait,
your car.
what time should I get there?
You want to be there no later than 8 so that you can comfortably park your car.
Yes.
Get inside. Order a beverage.
Yeah.
Get a beverage.
I think you
Take
should
a
open the
pee.
doors at 7:30.
Well, there's like other things involved.
Well, you could probably
5
sneak
o'clock.
in
Right.
at 7:30.
Happy hour.
And get to the front of the stage because really, I mean, Cinecide has killed it every year. Motor Dolls on next, Smitty right after that, and then after Smitty, we've got White Shag with Laura Mendoza.
Love her.
And rumor has it, I don't want to give it away, but Sterling may be doing a duet with her.
That
I'm
would
not
be
going to
good.
say what. Actually, I do know what they're going to do. It's going to be awesome.
You know
It's a
more than you're letting
surprise.
on.
It's a surprise.
Then after White Shag, we've got Rick
Hey.
Mills and Chris Flanagan's band.
Well, we look forward to seeing everybody on Saturday night.
Yes.
So
Are we out of time?
You know what? I'm trying to do the math here, but we're close. So any final thoughts?
All right, so I talked about the panel. So Jimmy Doom is going to be the guest host, and Ricky Rat's
Awesome.
going to be the DJ for the night.
That'll be good.
All right, so Saturday,
then
August 4th.
And Sue Summers is doing Made in Michigan. We're going to have vendor tables on the inside as you walk in, and we have great photography and ceramics, and there might be a table selling Smitty T-shirts and CDs.
All right, we'll see you at the Tangent Gallery Saturday night at 8 o'clock.
Be there by 8.
Thanks a lot for watching another
Jenny.
episode. Chatty Patty.
Follow all
Duck Show.
Hello. It's the Chatty Patty Talk Show. Hello. It's the Chatty Patty Talk Show.
We will talk
yes,
And
yes.
now,
Aloha.
it's the Jenny Penny Walla Walla Talk Talk Show. It's the Jenny Penny Walla Walla Talk Talk